you ever question your darkness? And let me say this: you're very beautiful.
Thank you.
If there was such a thing as a black diamond, I would say it's you.
Thank you.
Now, going back to my question, have you ever questioned your beauty? Did anyone, any situation, circumstance, at any moment ever made you doubt the beauty that you are?
Of course.
Okay.
And being from where we are from and being as dark as I am is not a lot of people embracing it in the world. And being from Africa and coming here, I came here in 1998. That's so recent. So having to see that and observing the difference, and then on top of that, I was in foster care where I was raised. All of my foster parents were white, so you see that difference every single day. I can just go outside the street. I can go to grocery store. I can go to a restaurant, and I see it. But it wasn't so much that I questioned my beauty. I love my beauty as a black woman. I've always have. The one thing that I definitely questioned was the hair issue. And we all have our insecurities as black people because it's constantly right in your face every day. We can pretend, we can lie about it, but like especially I grew up in Nebraska. You see that every day, and you are different, and you're not beautiful because there's just a certain line, that it's a hush hush line, but it's there. So
hold on. You know you're not beautiful, or you're made to think you're not beautiful?
You're made to think that you're not beautiful because, if we go to a high school prom, there's no chance of me ever being a prom queen. I'm not blonde with blue eyes. So you just know that. And as, let's say African girl, I observed that very young. As soon as I learned English, people taught me that you can't go around saying the N-word to just about anybody. There's certain people, there's this. So it's already, you already are pulled into that mindset. And if certain privileges were not given to you because of certain ways, you're going to think it's because of how you look, did that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's like, it's apparent, but people choose to not make it apparent. So
take us on a tour into a refugee camp. What particular sounds come to mind? Was there, and this is only for those of us who don't know, was there singing, humming, chanting? What type of songs do you remember as a child?
So in the refugee camp, I think the singing really give us hope every day. And my father is a pastor. I grew up singing all my life in the church, actually. Even when I came to US, I was in the choir in high school and at the university I went to. So in my language, I'm quite a singer, according to my father. But we sang a lot. And I have a lot of songs from my mother that definitely her favorites at the hard times when we would sit there like, we're starving, we're waiting for the food. Oh, the UN didn't deliver the food this week, so we have to wait. And we would just eat fruits, sometimes mangoes, sometimes dates, just anything that we can find. But the singing kept us alive, but it gave us like a lot of hope, but it gave us, there was a sense of trust that I feel my mother had with nature. That, because that's where we get most of our food, basically. We ate a lot of leaf, we ate a lot of greens. There were just so many things that green stuff that we ate that didn't even make sense, but she always had hope. Anytime she goes into the bush, we know she's not going to come back empty handed. So there was a sense of trust, through all the walk that we were walking, to cross the Nile, to come to Ethiopia, to go to this town. There's always another transition, but somehow we always find something to eat. So in the middle of singing, whenever we sit down and we made our camp and we pray as a family, something always come, and it always came from the nature. So that was always comforting.
Do you remember anxiety? Do you remember feeling anxious?
Yes.
During the walk?
Yes.
What were the children saying, and what were they thinking?
I think, honestly, as a child, even from my memories, you adapt so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that is like, it's happening. Mm-hmm. You were born into it. this is our life. So for me, it was never, oh, why do we have to move here? We almost just look forward to it because every day we were going somewhere, and for South Sudanese, we're seasonal travelers, so we're kind of like nomad in a way. We have a specific place. Like I'm from Akoba, but each season we would travel and go here. When the sunny season come, we go somewhere. We go camping to the Nile. We take the cows, where they eat, So it's always constant moving around. But because of the war, it became so frequent that we go to this town maybe to go to flee this certain tribe that's fighting us, but then something will happen there, and then you transition here and you transition here. But it's a scary feeling because not only are you worried about what to eat, you're also worried if you're going to get killed. If you're not going to get killed, maybe you're going to get eaten by some animal, or you're going to go in the water. You're crossing the Nile, and there's animals, there's crocodile, there's hippopotamus in there. So all around us, to me now, when I look back, is this chaos. Every day was a chaos. There was never a day it was just, oh, I'm just going to get up today and get dressed and whistle. There's none of that. We wake up alert. We wake up certain hours. We do certain things so early because you never know what's going to happen. And you never know, bad news is going to come. This person's going to die. There's not going to be food. So in the refugee camp, it's a very intense life.
What were the mothers telling their children to give them hope and comfort?
Education. And I believe that because as I remember my parents, when they decided for us to go to Ethiopia, it was, we have to take them away from here, but they have to get education because I grew up in a village. I'm not coming from an educated family, but my father was like, I had an opportunity to go get an education, and I walked away from it because of, he was a young man, in our tribe, there's just a lot of exciting things that happen. So I guess he was pulled into that. But for us, he really wanted something different. So in the refugee camp, that was the biggest thing. My parents, you're going to the primary school, even, you're a girl, we don't believe in this education, but go, So I would go to school, come back and just write back to my chores. But that sense of hope came from knowing that if we got an education and we educate ourselves, this whole thing that's happening can be shifted. Things could be done differently.
What is one memorable thing you can tell us about your dad that still sticks with you?
My father is a very funny man. So we have like the same characteristic. He's a pastor now. And one thing I remember with my dad, my father traveled a lot. So, and with everything that's happening, they tried to spread out. So my dad would go sometime to Kenya. He would go to Addis Ababa, just the nearby countries, to see if he can sometime take some things to go sell so he can bring money for us or go buy his clothes, just anything he can get. So I remember him every time he come back from a new city or a new country, he always bring us like stuff, like whether it's dresses or shoes. And I have a thing for like dresses. So when my father would come, like all the kids, from our village would just run to him. Oh, Paul is here. Paul is here. And we all go there, and then he give us like all these candy. He give us, and then the presents always the dresses, and he always gives it out in such a like dramatic way where my sister and I are just like, give it to us. But I that memory with my dad, because I guess I always liked fashion maybe in a young age, but I was so tomboy like all the time. So that I remember my father's always, here's the dresses, put them on, I'll put it on, and then just take it right off, and I'm back to just being free. So
it is said that you gave up a budding modeling career and went to college where you studied biology and psychology. Mm-hmm. Why did you give up modeling, and what message you hope this can send to young girls in a similar situation?
Well, definitely you need something to back you up. Mm-hmm. You need something like a degree. That's very important because for me, I've been in and out of modeling industry since I was discovered at 14, but I always wanted to finish my school. So that was the goal. And then I couldn't afford to pay for the school anymore. So I was like, let me just take 2 years off. I'll go back to modeling, make enough money, but I need to get that degree. So when I went back to school, it was literally that need for my education. That's what I came to this country for, is to obtain a degree and to educate myself so tomorrow we'll able to educate our country. So it's something I definitely believe in.
If you could write a note to your younger self, what would you say?
I would say, Nykhor, you need to listen. That's number one.
Okay.
And then number two, I would have said to myself, finish school. Finish school 100% when I was there. And then go into modeling.
Apart from your parents, who would you say in the refugee camps have had an impact on you, a positive impact on you? And in Nebraska, who would you say has had a positive impact on you?
So in the refugee camp, when I was in the choir, I was in the choir at a very young age. We had a choir leader, and he was blind, but he was the best singer in the whole world. And he writes songs. So every time he come up with a new song, he would come to my parents' house and say, I need Nykhor. I need to go write this song with her, and then she can sing it. So he would take me, we would go to church. I meet with him before all the choir. And for me, it was so exciting because, I'm like very, very young. Sometimes they have to carry me on their neck just to take me where they're going to sing the secret song. And then I have to sing all the chorus part. So that man, he passed away 2 years ago. His name is David. And the encouragement, but just the faith that he instilled in me at such a young age, it's like this leadership thing that he always talked to me about. Even though I was young, I was able to lead them. There's so many competition our church would go to, and sometimes we don't have song, but I would sing them in like this, in just such a weird way that we would end up winning. It was intense, but he inspired me a lot, and just the love and the mind that he had being blind. I was so intrigued by him. I was very, very intrigued by this man that he was born blind, but just the lives that he touched through the songs that he writes and songs that he sings and the messages and just the way he was able to lead us, even though he's blind. As a child, I just keep looking at him. I was like, I had an obsession with him, but I had a connection with who he really is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So in the refugee camp, for sure, David. And then I moved to Nebraska. I met my personal guide and my spiritual teacher. His name is Peter Wall. He's also a pastor now. He moved back to South Sudan, but he's somebody that have completely changed my entire being because he was able to help me grow up, and he was able to help me grow up into a woman, because coming to this country without my family was very tough, and not having the right people to walk the path with, which is your mother as a woman, I feel is so important. So for me, I always felt this, not disconnect, but just not having the proper